I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Okay. The big boy's gonna wash himself.
Fucking lines, embarrass yourself like that in front of all those goddamn people.
Which would be worse? To live as a monster? Or to die as a good man?
What's it gonna be, Doc? Huh? What's it gonna be? May I lift the hands off the tabletop in order to remove my billfold?
Yes, you may. You know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving.
I'm not fucking leaving! The show goes on!
All right, welcome back, everyone, to another special episode of the Best Thing We've Seen podcast. My name is Flo.
And as always, I'm Gabe. How are you?
That was a... I love the tone of your voice there.
Very
and
professional.
As always, I'm Gabe. Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing?
Dude, I'm fine. I was looking forward to this special episode that we're having today, but also kind of stressed because I just want to save very little time for a lot of movies. Truth be told, I had a lot of time. I just, as always, saved it for the last possible moment. So I just finished the last film about half an hour ago.
Yeah.
And it was a great one, as always.
Yeah, I mean, we say that on every episode, every special episode. We're like, it's always like it comes down to the last week of like cramming movies in to watch or shows. And then it's always just, you don't get to watch everything that you planned on watching.
Sure, but I mean, maybe it's healthy that I don't watch like 20 movies in like 2 weeks. So I just watch 6 movies in 4 days.
In a day, yeah. Yeah. But for anyone who is new around here, this is a special episode of our podcast. And basically what that means is that we don't talk about the best thing that we've seen all week, like a best new thing. But rather, we're going to talk about a person's career, and we're going to dissect the filmography of, one of the most famous people today, Leonardo DiCaprio, as you heard in the intro, and as you saw in the title, and as you saw on the cover, hopefully. This is quite a task, because this guy, he made a lot of good movies.
Dude, he's one of the most prolific, if I use that word right, actors like today. Maybe one of the most well-known and well-respected actors of like all time.
Yeah.
With his level of fame, and everybody knows if it's a DiCaprio movie, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's true. And I remember I mentioned on our last special episode, on the Ryan Gosling one, that his filmography was sort of incredible. And DiCaprio's is just up there as well. And also one of those guys that has like a reputation of being like a womanizer and whatever. People love him because he's good looking, but once again, I think they also love him because he's just an incredible actor. And,
just his filmography and seeing with which directors he's worked with, he's just worked with the best of the best. And
he keeps working with them too.
Dude, yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, he doesn't bring out a movie like every year.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. He just does the best projects and knows what he does, and he's always perfect for the role.
Absolutely.
I think he knows what he can do, and he does it perfectly pretty much every time.
Yeah, he sort of takes his time to get into his roles, I guess. That's sort of one of the benefits of being one of the most famous actors. You can sort of pick and choose roles and sort of prepare for them, and because you don't do it for the money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, maybe a bit for the money.
No, but like not in like I need to make I need to take any project on because I need to pay my rent. I think he's fine in that department.
I'm pretty sure he is. I mean, doesn't he have like a huge fucking yacht?
Yes, I think he's got a lot of things.
At least he rented it. Yeah. I'm sure he does.
Yeah. But the way this special episode works is basically we're gonna do a top 10 list, with the number 1 being the best thing we've seen from Leonardo DiCaprio. And this list can include movies, TV shows, YouTube videos, whatever. But once again, this guy obviously. I mean, has he been a part of a show? I don't think he has.
Not as far as I'm aware. He's like one of the most purest actors that I know, as in he just does movies and no Netflix deals so far. And yeah.
Well, that's funny you should say that. I was going to wait to mention that at the end of the show. But
Why?
I read news about the newest Adam McKay film. And
Right.
That movie has been on my watch list for a while. I just added it to the watch list on IMDb. But they recently announced the casting of it. And I think it's a Netflix production, which is why it's funny you should say that. Hold on. I'm just looking. I need to... all right, you ready for this? Hold on.
Let's go.
I don't know when this movie will be released, but they obviously haven't even shot it yet. But the latest Adam McKay film, it's going to be called Don't Look Up. And I think it's a comedy about space. And
Okay.
listen to this cast list. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett, Jonah Hill, Timothy Chalamet, Ariana Grande, Matthew Perry, Rob Morgan, Kid Cudi. I mean, just the first 5.
He just got everybody on board.
DiCaprio, Lawrence, Streep, Blanchett, Hill, Chalamet. That's incredible casting.
Dude, I mean, if anybody can get them under one roof, it's Adam McKay is one of those people who can do that. He has always got like stellar casts and connections to what feels like to the top tier list of Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for him. And I'm
Good for
excited to
us.
see DiCaprio in another comedy, if you can call Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a comedy, because he was great in that one, and I would love to see him in more.
Yeah. I can't wait for that. But let's talk about the movies that have already been released that he's been a part of. Is there anything else we need to mention, or should we just dive right into it?
Just a little note for the listeners. The way we do this list is if I have something, for example, on my number 10 spot and Flo has it on his number 5 spot, we are going to postpone the conversation. And if it's quite close together, like on a number 8 spot, number 7 spot, we're going to do the discussion right then and there.
Right. Because we obviously don't know each other's lists.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what makes your list. And I have some controversial omissions, as always. And we'll see how our lists compare. I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
think I have at least 3 films on my list that I'm not going to make your list. So I'm
that's an
excited.
interesting claim.
I think so. And I'm
Okay.
excited to see what you're going to put in those places.
Okay. I think it's your turn to start this week.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to start my list off strong, and I think you do not have this film on your list.
Okay.
It's a strong claim, because my number 10 spot is Titanic.
Okay, no, it's not on my list.
I thought so.
What do you mean it's a strong film? Just in terms of like you love the film, or you mean it's
No.
it's a strong claim that I don't have it on my list?
It's a strong claim that you don't have it on your list, and it's
Right.
like a strong pick, as in it's the DiCaprio film that made him the star that he is, I think, because it just was one of the most popular and most successful films of all time.
Yeah.
And
Did you rewatch this?
I rewatched this
You did?
yesterday, I think.
Like what, 3.5 hours?
3 hours and 14 minutes.
Yeah.
14.
Jesus.
Because we went out shopping for Blu-rays and you saw me buy this.
I
Because
genuinely forgot that you bought this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Because I want to rewatch it for this special, because I thought this is one of the big DiCaprio roles. And everybody loves Titanic, and everybody keeps quoting the film with "I'm the king of the world," etc. And so I want to rewatch it to see how I feel about the film, because the last time I saw it was ages ago,
Yeah.
and it's fine.
Oh, what? And a fine pick is going to make your DiCaprio top 10 list?
It's a cute film. It's a very cute love story between the two of them, and I really like the chemistry between the two of them. The reason why I'm not a huge fan of this film is, first of all, it's hyped to fucking high heaven.
Is
Because-
it though?
Not in our generation, maybe.
Right.
But just from a critic's point of view, or just seeing the numbers of what this movie achieved as in sheer views and dollars that it earned,
Of course.
it's very impressive. I think in our generation, it's not that popular, I guess. I haven't met anybody in our age group that said, like, dude, that's the best fucking love story ever. But
Yeah.
it is a good film.
I don't know. It is a good film, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's the reason I put it on this list, first of all, is just the way it was made is freaking impressive. The way it was all remade and remodeled, like the whole Titanic that they rebuilt kind of, the whole sets and the flooding and everything. If you don't know what happens to the Titanic, I'm sorry, but you should know this. It's common knowledge, it sank. And the way they did this is incredible. And I think the love stories are very sweet. The thing that I am not a huge fan of with this film is like the opening and like the ending and in between, where they kind of start off in
you didn't like the opening, the ending, and what's in between.
Everything, you know what I mean, because it starts off, the premises that it's set in the 90s and a couple of explorers go down with like a submarine to explore the Titanic and find a necklace and a certain jewel. And then an old woman in her, I think she's over 100 years old at this point, who actually was on the Titanic, kind of goes there and kind of tells a story.
You didn't
and
love
I'm
that
not
part.
a huge fan of that part. Yeah, it's
Right.
quite boring. It's quite unnecessary, and does makes kind of little sense that they do this whole freaking expedition just to find the jewel, because I'm sure all of this costs more than the jewel is worth. So
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say that.
Well, I looked up what the most expensive piece of jewelry in the world is worth. The
Right.
Hope Diamond. It's like 330 million.
Right.
And this expedition seems like very expensive, in the hundreds of millions. So,
It's almost like the Titanic budget.
dude, it was 200 million. Apparently more expensive than the real Titanic.
Well, there you go.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I picked this film. It's incredibly impressive, and I don't know why I just told you about the story. I think everybody knows what the story is about. I think everybody has seen it or at least heard of it.
Sure. And I think I'm happy that you put it on the list, because it's sort of one of the most iconic DiCaprio movies and performances, and sort of his breakthrough.
Yeah, and I think that's just why it deserved a spot on this list.
Yeah.
All right.
right.
So what's your number 10?
My number 10 is going to be higher on your list. It's going to be
Sure it
Catch
is.
Me If You Can.
It is higher.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm not surprised there. What's your 9?
My number 9 is, once again, a film that I think is not on
Can
your
make a
list.
strong. Is it a strong movie?
It is a fine film. It's fine,
What?
all right?
We're just raving about DiCaprio's filmography, and now the first 2 picks of yours are just going to be fine picks?
No, just the reason why, well, Titanic is because it's just a freaking impressive film in how it was made, and just for what it symbolizes in DiCaprio's career, and just for the whole cinema and movie history kind of thing.
Right?
But my number 9 pick is What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
Yeah, that's higher for me. I mean, it's
Well,
not
it actually made your list.
It's
alright.
not a lot higher. Let's talk about it. It's my 7.
Oh, okay. Well, I think it's a fine film. I rewatched it like 2-3 days ago
I watched this yesterday.
for the first time.
Yes.
And what do you think?
Well,
Just
I
the
didn't want to
film.
interrupt you, but do you want me to go first now?
I just want to know what your kind of general thoughts are about the film.
Well, I was completely surprised by this movie, because this was one of those films I'd never seen, and I'd always heard how great it is, and I had no idea what it was about. And it was not until I actually watched it that I realized that DiCaprio was playing a character who, I don't know what his sickness is. Do you know?
Mentally handicapped, let's call it that.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever explain what exactly he has.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, Johnny Depp's character, he sort of says that he wishes that his brother had a new brain, just because. But I didn't know that, though. So in the first scene, I didn't even watch the trailer. In the first scene, when you see DiCaprio, like this movie came out, I think, in 1993. So this was even
91.
before.
Or maybe that was Titanic.
No, Titanic was 95. I was going to say, this is just before his breakthrough in Titanic.
No, wait, sorry. I think Titanic was 97, actually.
You're right. Titanic is 97. But Grape is 93.
All right. Then something else is 91. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But so this was just before his breakthrough, basically, or a couple of years before that. And I think he's absolutely incredible in this movie.
Dude, same. That's why I put it on all my lists, even though I'm not a huge fan of the film.
I
It's a
mean,
good
I
film.
loved
It's
it.
a good film.
I loved it.
I wasn't a huge fan of like the Johnny Depp love story.
With
part of
Juliette
the film.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, dude. Her relationship with DiCaprio, that was so sweet.
Yeah, towards the end, but apart from that, I thought it was quite boring, to be honest.
Dude, I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed this movie. And he was nominated for this.
dude, and he was incredibly young, and he deserved it so much. His performance is like on point. And I read somewhere that people were so surprised because he was a quite unknown actor at the time, and seeing him at the premiere and finding out that he's not actually mentally handicapped.
Yeah. Well, I looked up how old he was, and he was, because in the movie he's just about turning 18.
Yeah.
And he was like 17, 18 years old in real life as well when he made this. He looks quite young. I thought. He looked quite young. But yeah, I just I don't know, man. This completely worked for me. And I think, like, because you said you thought some aspects of it were boring, I was just like hooked the whole time. I was sort of fascinated by everything that was going on, like with the obese mother too. Was that
Dude,
real? Do you know?
She actually was that obese. She died.
I think that's so interesting that she would take on that role. Because in the whole movie, like, she's being made fun of for being very overweight, and that's a big theme, big plot of the story, big part of the story. Sorry, but yeah,
I think it was actually her first and maybe only real movie role.
Okay,
and what I read about her, she actually had the same thing that her character has, that she just stayed home for about 5 years and didn't go outside, and then she
fascinating.
Kind of start going outside, and then they cast her for this film. I think maybe because she was on like a talk show or something.
Right, I was going to say, how did they find her? Yeah,
I think something like that. And apparently, some of the actors apologized to her after each take, like DiCaprio and Depp, for making fun of her or her weight, just because it felt quite bad.
But see, that sort of, I'm getting goosebumps now. Just think about that, because she's playing this person who is very insecure and sort of troubled by everything, by like, she doesn't want anyone else other than her family members to see her. But then to think that's actually like the case in real life as well. It's incredible.
Yeah. And
brave that she did it. Like, brave that she took on the role.
And just for reference, I think she was more or a little under 500 pounds, which is about 250 kilograms, which is a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she did a great job. I think she was a great actress.
Yeah.
In that role. I mean, I think it's hard for her would have been hard for her to find more roles where she isn't just cast as that woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's incredibly cool that she did it, and that they kind of showed that and didn't just use a whole lot of makeup, because I think that would have made it look more kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Especially in that time when the makeup wasn't as advanced as it is now.
Yeah, sure.
The like bodysuits or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, this completely, like, it blew me away, man. And Depp's performance I thought was really good. I'm not a big fan of Johnny Depp's.
I think a young Johnny Depp's pretty cool.
I was going to say, yeah.
A whole lot of cool films. Like, well, we could go off rather off that list another time, maybe. But
yeah, but just the standout is DiCaprio for me in this. His performance is just, because it's so difficult to not like be over the top or make it ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And he just nailed it. And he's this very eccentric character who always screams and is very tough to control and always like sort of hyperactive. And I thought it was very, very poignant and beautiful in certain scenes when he was just when he was quiet. And that sort of I don't know how to say this, but there were like some moments between Johnny Depp's character and Juliette Lewis's character, and he's just like looking on and like is happy for his brother and is sort of calm in that moment. And I thought it was just beautifully done, just because it seemed so out of place for him to be quiet, but that's why why they did it, and it worked.
And I mean, like you said, he really was like 17, 18 at the time that the film came out, and he just seems so childlike, like a 6-year-old, especially, the scene where he's in the bathtub.
Yes.
And he just seems so young and vulnerable and sweet. And he did a great job. And I love his little mannerisms that he has with his hands, like playing around. On point, like extremely cool.
I was extremely impressed by his performance in this. Really, really good.
Right, so that's What's Eating Gilbert Grape, or that's at least Johnny Depp's, DiCaprio's performance in it. And I think we completely missed what actually the story is about. So it's about Johnny Depp and his family, with DiCaprio playing his brother, and the very obese woman playing his mother, living out in the middle of nowhere. I think in Kentucky, Arizona. I have no idea.
Just listing any places. Yeah, in
somewhere
America.
in the South, like Midwest, somewhere like that. And him playing kind of unhappy guy, living out in the middle of nowhere with his family that he's kind of, I think, maybe ashamed of or just extremely tired of.
Yeah.
And then this girl coming along with her wagon. Dude, I'm completely losing my voice right now. Wait.
Yeah.
And with a girl coming along in like her convoy wagon and breaking down and them getting to know each other. And it's a beautiful kind of family love story drama.
Well, yeah, and what's eating Gilbert Grape is sort of that. What is eating him because he's sort of thinking of moving away. Maybe like what's eating him? What's on his mind?
Yeah,
he's sort of contemplating things that he hadn't before.
Yeah, and having all this responsibility because since his mother can't work, it's gonna fall on him to take care of his mom and brother and to go to work and have all these responsibilities.
Right. I mean, he has two sisters as well, but he's the main like caretaker of DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Caregiver? Right. Caretaker? He is the one who
care
looks after DiCaprio's character. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So that was my 7, your 9. So my number 9 is going to be higher on your list, I'm sure. It's because we talked about it on a different special. It's The Departed.
Yeah, it's going to be higher, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's higher.
No surprises there.
So my number 8 is Gangs of New York, which I think is another film that is not on your list.
Yeah, you're right so far. It's
all right,
but I do like that movie. That's on my honorables list.
Dude, it's a great film, and I think.
Would you say it's a fine film?
It's a very fine film. No, it's not a perfect film, but it's a very good film. And as I think mentioned on the last regular episode, I love the gangster genre and all the kind of gangs and all that thing. And it is Gangs of New York, and loosely based on real people and real gangs, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing is the counterpart to DiCaprio's character is Billy Butcher, played not Billy. I think also Billy
the
Butcher.
Butcher, I think, yeah.
Billy the Butcher, because Billy Butcher is also one of the protagonists in The Boys. Anyway, he's played by Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the most well-acclaimed actors ever, as well. And it's just a very cool story playing in the 19th century about a Irish gang and an Anglo-Saxon American kind of gang battling each other in New York, and you kind of see the whole film play out as with DiCaprio kind of being this young guy whose dad was the old leader of the Irish gang, who's now kind of broken up because Bill the Butcher beat them in a fight.
Right, that was Liam Neeson
at the beginning.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, played by Liam Neeson. And it's just a very cool film of him kind of becoming older and kind of want to take revenge for his father, and then kind of joining Daniel Day-Lewis's character to kind of infiltrate his gang because he doesn't know who the hell he is. And I think it's both a strong performance by DiCaprio and an even stronger performance, by Daniel Day-Lewis, who is just always on point with his accent, with everything. He's just freaking amazing.
Yeah. And you got Cameron Diaz in there too.
Yeah, and Brendan Gleeson. And maybe, I think, John C. Reilly, maybe? I'm not sure.
You're just taking a guess. I mean, I could picture him in this setting.
I remember him in this, but I might be wrong.
And obviously, this is the first time that DiCaprio worked with Martin Scorsese.
That's right.
Not the last time. I mean, we're going to talk about... I mean, we talked about, for example, The Departed is also one, and I'm sure we're going to talk about other ones as well.
At least one more.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gangs of New York, great film. It's also a bit older, so from the 90s, I think, or maybe early 2000s, but I think the 90s.
I think it's...
It was very young at the time. Really?
Cool. Yeah. Gangs of New York. 2002, yeah.
All right. Sorry, my bad.
I love the U2 song that is used in the end, the very last scene. That's sort of my favorite moment in the whole movie.
Honestly, I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's a great scene. Look it up on YouTube if you know the movie. Like, that's a bit of a spoiler, but great soundtrack.
Yeah, dude, and cool film. I think the aesthetic of how New York kind of looks, it looks more like a apocalyptic Disney version, so a bit over the top and just very fucked up, which is very cool.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I mean, as you said, and as we talked about on our last episode, that's all you, that genre. I'm not the biggest fan of that sort of genre, and
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is The Revenant. Is that going to be on your list? I honestly have no idea.
It's a bit higher, but I think we can talk about it now.
It's up to you.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it now. It's my number 5.
Okay.
So
wow, that's high. I wasn't expecting it to be that high on your list.
Yeah, I rewatched it recently, and I just saw how much work went into this film, how much it grabs you, and it is the film that he won his Oscar for. Maybe not as deservedly as he should have won it for a couple of other roles, maybe.
Yes. I think, for example, Gilbert Grape would be more deserved. Honestly.
Yeah. I think everybody knew that he was going to win the Oscar that year just because he hadn't won one so far, and he just really wanted to.
And the competition wasn't as good as it was when he lost the couple of times that he did, because I think he was nominated like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, and I think I looked it up who else was nominated that year.
I remember it without looking it up because I watched his speech so many times.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can you tell me off the top of your head?
Well, it was Matt Damon for The Martian, which is, he should have won.
Maybe, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I just love that movie.
He was also very good, yeah.
It was Bryan Cranston for Trumbo. It was Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs. And it was Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl.
Right.
I genuinely hope that is true.
I mean,
there might be some mistakes in there.
I'm not sure about Dalton Trumbo, but could be.
I think
but
so.
I'm very sure about The Martian and Danish Girl, because I think I looked it up as well a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I think maybe Danish Girl was up there, just the performance. I know you weren't a fan of the film, but...
No, and I also think that it might have sounded like I didn't think he deserved to win it for that movie. I thought he deserved, like DiCaprio absolutely deserved to win it. I just think he should have won it earlier, and he has been, like, other movies that he made or other roles he played were even better than his role in The Revenant.
I mean, he plays it very well. It's just a very minimalistic kind of performance because he talks so little.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I was going to say that I was going to mention this because I read that, or I heard it in an interview when the movie came out, and it sort of stuck with me because the interviewer asked a very, very good question, and he asked DiCaprio and Tom Hardy, who is his counterpart in the movie, if they were like, because the whole movie is shot in real conditions, like in like practically there's no like CGI, no green screens. They were like seeking out these snowy landscapes, and it was all shot like with natural light as well.
Yep.
No no
artificial lighting.
No, thank you. No artificial lighting,
except for one scene I read.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know that.
But it's just beautifully shot, the movie.
Yeah.
By Emmanuel Lubezki, who we talked about before as well.
And he also won the Oscar for Best Cinematography.
Yeah.
And
I think
very much deserved.
Best Director, too. For Inuyasha. Yeah. And did he win Best Movie, too?
I don't think so, no.
But I was going to say... what was I going to say? Oh, he asked the question if the actors were acting or if they were actually like more reacting to everything that was going on, because they were sort of like put into these real conditions, and shit is happening around them, and they're sort of like reacting more than acting. I thought that was very, very interesting and probably accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the scene where he eats like the piece of buffalo heart or flesh. Yeah. He actually ate it.
Yep.
Which, well, there's not a lot of, performance, just genuine disgust.
Yeah. But there's like so many great scenes, like the bear fighting scene is sort of the most iconic one. And, I mean, could you like explain what that movie is about? It's been, I haven't seen it since.
I just want to ask you the same thing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out. So,
well,
The Revenant, you saw more recently.
Well, The Revenant is quite a simple story about, it's the early 19th century, and DiCaprio's character and Tom Hardy's character and others are out there kind of looking for pelts to collect. And DiCaprio has his little son with him, who is part Native American. And when they're out there, they get attacked by Native Americans, and they have to flee. And while they flee, on the way back, DiCaprio's character becomes injured by a bear attack. and kind of gets left for that. And Tom Hardy's character does some horrible shit. So DiCaprio's kind of job is throughout the film to get revenge and to kind of crawl back to where the others went, because he's extremely injured, close to death, and like the first hour and a half of the film, of like 2.5 hour long film, it's just him starting to kind of finally get back to his feet and tending to his wounds and being driven like a madman to find Tom Hardy's character. And it's incredibly well done, as we talked about, because it's all kind of taking place somewhere in the northern part of the US, I think in Utah, I'm not sure, during the winter. And I don't know. Yeah, they shot it in the mountains, and it's just him trying to survive with all his will. And it's so well done, and
it is.
Yeah.
And
just check it out.
The one thing that sort of bothered me was he has like these visions throughout his journey, these spiritual visions. And do you remember when we talked about this on Harriet too? On one of our earlier podcast episodes? In Harriet, in the movie, same things sort of happen, where people have like visual or like spiritual visions throughout their journeys. And that's just sort of, that always takes me out of the moment a little bit. But other than that, it's an incredibly impressive piece of filmmaking, The Revenant. It's really like, the reason I didn't necessarily want to rewatch it, because it takes something out of you to watch this. It's not an easy watch by any means, and it depicts sort of the horrors of that time and his journey pretty well.
Dude, definitely. And I think the first time I watched it, I had a better experience, just because it was so overwhelming to see all of this, especially in the cinema. Yeah. Where it's like crystal clear image with this amazing sound, and you just see these beautiful pictures of nature. But I had to rewatch it, because I thought, dude, is it actually as good as I remember it? And it's still an incredible movie. Yeah. But yeah, the first time is the charm with this one.
Yeah.
All right.
What's your? That was my 8.
8. Yeah, Revenant.
What's your 7?
My 7 is probably going to be higher up for you. I mean,
I love how you anticipate everything perfectly. I'm sure you're going to be right.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape was your number 7.
That's
so
right.
It's not going to be your 7. I think it's going to be in like your top 5 probably. It's Inception.
Wow, that's your 7.
Yeah,
that is higher for me.
Cool films on this list.
Yeah, I'm just that's higher for me. Yeah.
All right. So what's your number?
My 7 was Gilbert Grape. So yeah. What's your 6?
My number 6 is Django, Unchained.
That is my number 4.
All right. You want to talk about it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Yeah, I mean, the reason I have, for example, Django higher than Inception is his performance is just amazing. And there are those little moments when you kind of read up on it that were completely improvised by
where he shatters the glass and bleeds. Yeah,
and smears all over the other actress's face.
Yeah,
without her consent, which is kind of weird, but
yeah,
it's acting.
I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, I just thought it was supposed to. Oh, interesting. See, I didn't know that. I always thought it was an accident that his hand started bleeding, but then obviously it wasn't planned that he smeared it on her face. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, as well. Yeah, and that's why she looks quite shocked in that moment, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Django.
Context.
Yeah, context, right. It's a great Western by Quentin Tarantino. I think everybody's heard about it, and I'm going to let you tell the story.
Well, thank you.
What it is about.
Thank you. Well, Django Unchained, Jamie Foxx's character, he plays a slave who is rescued, or not rescued, but bought by Christoph Waltz, Austrian pride, the guy who obviously worked with Tarantino before in Inglourious Bastards, and then did so again in Django Unchained. And he rescues Jamie Foxx's character, and then together, obviously Christoph Waltz's character, he is a bounty hunter. He kills people for a reward, and then he...
What was his name?
It was King Schultz, Dr. King Schultz.
Great name.
Yeah.
Go on.
And then he sort of recruits Jamie Foxx's character to be a bounty hunter with him, because Jamie Foxx, he wants to be reunited with his wife, played by Kerry Washington. She has, I think, Brunhilde. I think that's her name.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
and he wants to find her. And Christoph Waltz, his character, sort of helps him track down the plantation where she's being held. And who would have thought it is on DiCaprio's plantation where she's being kept? And DiCaprio plays Calvin Candy, one of the most despicable human beings. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, what an iconic character this guy is.
Dude, extremely, yeah.
Just an absolute piece of shit. Like, I don't want to say like the typical slave owner you see in movies, because it's not typical, because it's sort of elevated. More, yeah. But yeah, their paths sort of obviously end up intertwining with each other, and then like he also had like Sam Jackson plays his I don't know what he is, the house slave,
kind of his top slave. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird weird constellation of that's not a word. Constellation is German. It's a weird like relationship they have, because he is a black man who works for DiCaprio, but at the same time he talks down on every other black person that is there. Like Sam Jackson's character is just as despicable as is DiCaprio's.
Dude, he's extremely racist as well.
Steven. Is it Steven?
I think, isn't it Hercules?
It's definitely not Hercules.
No, sorry, he makes a joke about Hercules with Jamie Foxx's character. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it's Steven.
Maybe.
But yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible movie with one of the best soundtracks. And I'm not talking score, because Tarantino rarely uses score. He always uses actual songs. This soundtrack is so good. And it's interesting because I rewatched this movie for the first time like a couple of months ago. And I'd listened to the soundtrack so many times over the years. So this was the first time where I watched the movie and knew every single song. And that sort of elevated the whole experience for me even more. This is just an incredible movie with, gore galore as per usual, but also with some hilarious moments, and just everyone on top of their game.
Yeah. I mean, about the soundtrack, I think it's too good, because everybody started listening to all of the songs, so I can't hear them anymore. I'm so sick of them at times.
It's a fair point, yeah. Oh, but they're so good.
They're still great. In the context of the film, they're great.
Yeah.
But if I see it out in the wild, if I hear them,
yeah,
I'm more put off than turned on.
Oh, come on.
Usually I'm very turned on.
I know, yeah. I know.
It's Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, one of the best soundtracks.
Yeah. Oh, I would argue that Django is one of his best.
It's I guess more original. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
because you know original? A whole lot of the songs from Reservoir Dogs.
Oh,
but then again, he made them, I guess, more popular.
Yeah,
which is kind of his thing. He seeks out classics, especially in his older films, and makes them popular again just by playing them in his films.
Dude, if you get played in a Tarantino film, like if your song is added to a Tarantino film, you're set for life.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's a cool film, like you said, and his performance is so cool because he's this over-the-top bad guy, and he rarely plays the bad guy, if ever. Yeah. Which makes it so cool. And like we talked about, or I talked about with the Adam McKay film, that I find it great that he does comedy, because his role also in Django, even though he's so despicable at times, is very funny because it's so over the top. He's like from a comic book or something like that.
Yeah.
Which makes it funny and disturbing at the same time, which makes it even cooler when he kind of breaks he is very funny and stupid and over the top, like Willy Wonka or something.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden he kind of snaps and becomes fucking crazy, which makes it so freaking cool to watch him.
Yeah, it's sort of like he perfectly encapsulates that frail mind he has of like a deranged person. Like he's super happy at that one moment, but then one thing happens that ticks him off and he just completely loses his shit. And that was the scene that we talked about. He slams like his hand down at the table, or his fist, and he actually like injured his hand, and he just kept going in the take with all the like smeared blood all over his all over the other actors apparently as well. I don't remember that scene.
I think there's one actress portraying one of his house slaves, and he kind of just walks up to her and kind of touches her face, and she has a whole of blood on her face all of a sudden.
Yeah,
with quite a shocked look on her face.
Yeah, but that whole like dinner scene also has some like Tarantino. He knows how to write dialogue, and there's so many like funny lines in there, like really laugh out loud funny. And it's obviously the whole movie is not funny, but because it deals with horrific subjects, but he always manages to sort of sneak in a little bit of humor, which makes the movie so enjoyable, I guess.
Yeah, dude, that is why he is like one of the top directors out there, and everybody kind of looks forward to a Tarantino release. I think
Absolutely.
everybody I know who is not put off by a whole lot of violence, just quotes Tarantino or just sees him as one of the best directors working today, and I see why. Just his movies are fun and disturbing at the same time, which in a kind of perverse way make them so enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about another one of his movies a bit later on.
Yeah, and I'm excited to do that. So that was my number 6. What's yours number 6?
Let's see. My number 6 is Shutter Island. I know it's not going to make your list.
Yeah, we talked about this.
I can't believe you don't like that movie.
I don't think it's bad.
Okay.
It's just not my movie. There are a couple of issues that I have with it that just don't work for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love that movie, man. And
Good
it only
for
made
you.
number 6 because he's got so many great movies. But
Yeah, I think I'm very much in the minority with my opinion on Shutter Island. I think pretty much everybody I know like loves Shutter Island, and when I talk about DiCaprio with people, like the two films that get mentioned the most are probably Shutter Island and Inception.
okay,
I think
yeah,
that's what I kind of remember from talking with people.
yeah.
And fair enough. I see the appeal. It's just not my film.
I just love it. I love a good mystery, and
Yeah.
then with a stellar cast on a secluded location, like on this island where there's like a prison for the mentally unstable people or
Well, it's a criminally insane.
Thank you. The criminally insane, and they're just DiCaprio plays like a detective. I think it's Teddy Daniels, his name is, and alongside his partner, played by Mark Ruffalo, they're sort of investigating the disappearance of Rachel, one of the inmates on Shutter Island.
And again with the names, did you look this up before you started?
I rewatched this a
All
couple
right.
of weeks ago.
Dude, I did as well, but I don't remember a single name.
It's funny because I hope you believe when I say this. Rachel, actually, I remember that name because she's played by two different actresses. And there's like, I remember looking this up on the on IMDb, and it sort of says like Rachel 1 and Rachel 2, and that sort of stuck with me.
Is she actually played by 3 actresses, maybe?
Is she? I don't know. See, is she?
Just watch the film if you don't know what we're talking about.
I didn't rewatch it completely. Like
All right.
I only rewatched
Well,
like the first hour and a half, or hour and 20 minutes or something.
I gotta say, I think the latter half, well, the ending is the best thing about this film.
Oh, I agree.
I think the beginning is the best, the middle I don't like, and then the ending is great again.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the ending, it just it completely worked for me. And that is, like, usually these types of endings, and I'm not going to say it now because I don't want to spoil it, but usually they don't work for me because they're, like, obvious. You sort of think, okay, yeah, I expected that. But with this one, because so many weird things are happening throughout the whole movie, and people are looking at DiCaprio's character in a weird way, and he keeps having these flashbacks, like where he was in the war, and it's just all sort of, it makes sense at the end. And I love it, man. This really works for me. And the whole like setting, it just like pours rain the whole time, which, you know, I love. It's just like a mood to that movie. You can just turn it on and it just makes me feel cozy. And yeah.
Cozy, that film.
It does. Rain makes me feel cozy.
Dude, yeah. Rain is great.
Yeah. I love that movie, man.
Dude, I kind of get it. I just, like I said, I don't like the middle part, and towards the ending, there are a couple of things that are revealed, and I don't like how they're revealed.
Right.
And couple of the performances, I'm not a huge fan of. I do love DiCaprio in this, and I really liked Michelle Williams in this because I'm just a fan of hers.
Yes.
And yeah, but like I said, a couple of things that I felt kind of off from me, why this film didn't work for me. But yeah.
Ben
Like I said,
Kingsley is good as well in this as the.
He's cool, yeah, and I really like sorry, what's his name from
John
Exorcist?
Carroll Lynch. Oh,
Also great. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's not the guy you mean.
No, the guy who plays the German. He's got he's from Netherlands, so he's got a Netherlandian name.
Oh,
Is that the word?
yeah. I never know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah,
Elias.
Max van... No.
Oh, you mean Max von Sydow?
Yeah, isn't that him? Or
Well,
did it
he
just-
plays. We're all over the place now. Well, he plays. He's a colleague of Ben Kingsley's character.
Right.
But then
But that's
there's
him,
this.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's also this guy, Ladis, the guy that DiCaprio's character sort of has a history with. Who he finds.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he's
That's
played by
another
a
guy.
German too. I think his name is Elias. I never know how to pronounce his name. Koetias?
idea.
Koteas? Elias Koteas? I think he's not German. I'm all over the place. He's not German. He just has a German name.
All right.
Elias Koteas. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Whatever. Let's talk about a different movie. What's your number 6?
We just talked about my number 6. My number 6 was Django.
I'm sorry. What's your 5?
My 5 is Revenant. We talked about this already. So we're at your 5.
It's my 5. All right. One of my favorites. My number 5 is The Quick and the Dead.
I watched this for the podcast
Oh, yeah?
about a week ago,
Here
more
we
than
go.
a week ago.
Yeah?
And I didn't like it at all.
What?
You go ahead.
What's wrong with you?
Have
How
a
can
good
you not
time
like
with
that
this.
movie?
It is so over the top.
It is so hysterical.
It is hysterical, but for the wrong reason. It's so
No, it's
stupid.
supposed to be. Yeah, but it's supposed to be. It is so good. It's done by Sam Raimi.
Yeah,
Sam Raimi,
sorry.
who's mostly known for his Spider-Man movies. He's the one who did the first 3, like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. But if you look into his filmography, this dude has made some incredible movies.
Dude,
And
Evil Dead.
well, Evil Dead, yes, but there's like his smaller movies, like The Gift, or what's that movie called? Shit.
Dark Man.
Also good, but
Didn't see that one.
A simple plan. That's great.
No
And
idea.
The Quick and the Dead is my favorite Sam Raimi movie.
Really?
It is. I love that movie, man.
Dude, what a surprise. I mean, I knew that you liked it, but since it didn't show up in like your top 5, I didn't think it would make another appearance.
What do you mean? It is in my top 5.
Sorry, I mean from 10 to 6, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, The Quick and the Dead, it's like a Western cowboy film. And it's set in 1881. And Sharon Stone plays like a gunslinger, outlaw character who enters the town that is ruled by Gene Hackman's character.
Mm-hmm.
And they, like, in that town, there's like a gun shoot-off tournament going on, or that they're planning to do it soon. And Sharon Stone enters that competition because she wants the money too. Russell Crowe is in this as a preacher who's held hostage by Gene Hackman's character, and he's sort of forced to participate in that gun tournament as well. And then DiCaprio, who is I think the son of Gene Hackman's character, or he thinks he's the son. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember this. I looked it up on Wikipedia.
It gets revealed later in the film. I
See,
think.
I already forgot.
So-
You watched. I haven't seen this in a long time.
Yeah.
But he plays like this gun aficionado who I think
Sure,
he's like a gun shop, no?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And this is higher for my list, not necessarily because of DiCaprio. He does have a smaller part in this because it's more like Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman and Russell Crowe. But I just had to put this high because it's such a fun time. I really love this movie, man.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I mean, just like you said, amazing cast. I mean,
What did you think of the movie then?
at first, all right.
What did you expect?
This is fine. No, a better Western.
Well, it's a Sam Raimi Western where people will have they have like a weird gun tournament and they like
Sure, but it just towards the end, so many things that made zero sense. Just one thing that really ticked me off in the beginning was like when they announced the prize money for this, and it's like $250,000,
okay,
which is just ridiculous. Then I looked it up.
That's the movie. The movie's ridiculous.
Yeah, but like if you kind of compare this with today's money, it's like in tens of millions of dollars.
Of course.
It's maybe like close to 100 million.
It's a Sam Raimi film.
What? All right. And there's just towards the ending, I love Evil Dead just because it's so over the top and ridiculous.
Well, there you
it's
go.
Great.
There you go.
But it worked for that genre, and you kind of see how ridiculous it is. But then towards the end, somebody gets shot through their chest.
Yes.
It just makes this huge fucking hole. With
Yes. What are you talking about?
It's
This
kind
is
of
great.
funny again. No, it's just the action scenes were kind of boring. I thought it was just like, I don't know, everybody's being cool and shooting. It had no stakes for me, and like Russell Crowe's character was so boring.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
My God. What's your number 5? What's your number 4?
My number, dude, I had a whole trouble deciding what my 4, 3, and 2 are gonna be.
Right.
And now I have something at my number 4 spot, and I'm not sure if I want to keep it there.
Brilliant.
So how about a 5-minute intermission? We'll be right back. Dude, alright, I'm just gonna pick this as my number 4. It's not set in stone. Maybe I'm gonna change it in my mind a week later, just so you know how I kind of feel about those films. But my number 4 is the film that I finished, well, now it's about over an hour ago. And it's a long one. That's why it took me quite some time. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I know it's on your list.
It's my 3.
Alright, so we can talk about it now.
Sure.
So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the newest Quentin Tarantino film, which we talked about before when we talked about Brad Pitt's the best thing that we've seen from him, because the reason why we picked Brad Pitt as our first special episode actor, is because he just won the actor for the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Very much well deserved.
Yes.
And who else very much deserved an Oscar for this was DiCaprio.
Yes.
Because he plays an actor, as an actor, of course, in the 1960s, at the time of the Manson murders, or a little before that, around that time.
Yeah.
And he is so incredibly good in this, because he just plays this actor who's kind of at the end of his career and looks kind of for a revival of his career and tries to do a couple of roles. And there's this one scene where he acts in a pilot for a Western show.
Yes.
And he is so great because he sucks so much at the beginning. You see him losing his shit because he's so bad and forgetting his lines, and then kind of getting his shit back together and laying down a performance that is in itself just Oscar worthy.
100%.
And that is why I had to pick it as at such a high spot. At first I wanted to pick it as my number 2 spot, and was like, maybe that's a bit much. Maybe just kind of excited because I just rewatched it. But he's so good. And sorry, just one. Sorry. I just want to. You talk about the film for a second.
What's going on with you?
I'm sorry. I wrote down a quote while I was watching the film.
Please.
And I wanted to read it out loud, but then I just realized that it's a huge spoiler.
Okay. Well, then you should do it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just read it out and give a small spoiler warning for like 10 seconds.
Okay.
But anyway, you go ahead. You talk about the film. I mean, you have it on your number 3 spot, which is very high as well.
Well, I kind of feel like that his performance is underrated in this, just because everyone was talking about Brad Pitt's performance.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. And I was happy to see him win the Oscar for it. But as you said, I think this is one of DiCaprio's best performances of all time. I really do. And he goes from like desperation to being funny at other times to being like this sad actor who feels like his career is over, and then also like a couple of scenes later he has one of the most badass scenes like towards the end of the movie, just him picking up a supply. What's a utility? No. What's the? I don't want to say what it is. Him picking up a
machine of death.
No, but just the way like an appliance, isn't that it?
I wouldn't call that an appliance.
Well,
a can opener is an appliance.
Well, he sort of emerges in a very epic fashion towards the end of the film by his pool, where the whole audience erupted in the cinema back when we actually were able to go to a cinema with a packed audience. And I know it did when you saw it, and it did when I saw it. It's just such an epic moment. And once again, Tarantino just nailing his endings.
And dude, if we can just talk about that scene before it without revealing anything. Like I said, I just rewatched this.
Yeah.
And remember when we watched this, if anybody watched the film, you know what happens toward the ending. And everybody started laughing in the cinema because it's kind of this over-the-top kind of scene, and it shouldn't be funny, but it is hilarious, just the way Tarantino shot it. And I just watched this, and I've seen it before, and I'm alone at home, and I still laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Like, I was in a packed cinema. I rarely laugh out loud at home when I'm alone.
Ever.
Yeah, people rarely do that, you know?
Yeah.
Laugh out loud when nobody's around. But I had to laugh so fucking hard. It's just brilliant.
I get it. And one interesting thing about this movie is as well, because I talked with a lot of people about this, I think if you know what, like, because obviously Sharon Tate, right? That's her name? Played by Margot Robbie. And if you know Sharon Tate's story in real life, you sort of go into the movie with certain expectations. And I talked to a lot of people who didn't know Sharon Tate's story. Mm. And for them, it's sort of, they didn't, yeah, exactly. But I think if you know what happens and then you get Tarantino, you get how Tarantino plays with your expectations, I think it just sort of, it makes the movie a lot better if you know that going in.
Yeah. So please look up Charles Manson, the Manson family, and the Manson murders.
Yeah.
It just makes the film a whole lot better.
It's interesting because I know people that don't like the way Tarantino took liberties and changed things because it's sort of maybe not the most adequate thing to do. Right, respectful thing to do. But then again, it is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It is a fairy tale of some sort. And I think there's some liberties that are there. Like, I think it's okay for an artist, for a filmmaker to take certain liberties. And for me, it worked completely. And as I said, he plays with your expectations. And I love the way he did it.
Yeah. So, dude, definitely check it out. It's, like I said, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with
so
DiCaprio in the leading role, playing Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
With his best friend and employee, who is also a stuntman, Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. See, I know some names too.
I know.
And amazing film. Check it out.
Did you just Google them?
No, I just watched the film.
That's right. Yeah. Great movie.
Yeah.
I was surprised as to how great this movie was. I really was.
Dude, and it is a long one. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes. So, but it flies by, honestly. All right. What's your number 4?
Well, my 4 was Django.
Right.
So it's back to you.
Back at number 3. Dude, I feel like I'm doing so much of talking today, but just, I guess, how we kind of set up the discussion.
Yeah.
But, all right. My number 3 is a film that you mentioned before on your 8, 9, I'm not sure.
I know your top 3 now. That's crazy. Like my first 2, like 10 and 9, you still haven't mentioned. So they're going to be in your top 3.
It's good films. What can I say?
Wow.
Dude, my number 3 is Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, there you go. My number 10. I'm surprised. Wow, that's remarkably high.
Dude, that's the film that I kind of learned about DiCaprio, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, at the time this film came out in like the early 2000s, I was a small child.
Yes.
And I wasn't about to watch Gangs of New York at that age.
You wanted to.
And yeah, dude, Catch Me If You Can is one of those films that I watched with my family a whole lot, and I remember my brothers loving it, my mom loving it, and it's just a great film. And it has so much fun and joy in it, with this kind of adventure. And it's a Spielberg film, and he has this ability to make those kind of sweet and emotional and close films. Which, I don't know, there's this certain Spielberg feel just from the soundtrack that he picks and how he kind of depicts the story.
Yes, I agree.
Sorry. And this film just stuck with me, and I haven't seen it in quite a while, and I was wondering if it's still gonna have this much impact after so many years, and if it's still gonna be a good film. So I watched it about 2-3 days ago, and it's still amazing. It's so much fun with it, and I mean, I guess a whole lot of it was nostalgia, but
sure,
it's such a cool and interesting story, and just his relationship with Tom Hanks is so cool and so sweet. And if you don't know what the film is about, it's about Frank Abagnale Jr.
You definitely wrote that down. You definitely.
No, I
wrote
didn't.
That down. I was ready to pounce there because I remember that name because we actually talked about him in school.
Yeah, and I said the wrong name at one point. It didn't say Abagnale.
No, but that was on a trivia night that we had.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
And so I watched the film again. And now I remembered it, and I googled the guy later on. That's why I also remembered it. It's a guy who, before his 19th birthday or something like that, he managed to forge a couple of $1 million worth of checks and posed as an airline pilot, a doctor, a lawyer, and whatever else. And this is not a spoiler. They opened the film with this, with him starring on a game show where they have to guess who is the real Frank Abagnale. And yeah, I actually watched the episode where he started. It's very interesting. And yeah, he's pretty much a forger and a bit of a con artist, and he does it so well. And he's supposed to be very young in this film. I guess he's like 24 in real life at that point, but he has quite a young face, and he's great. And I love him and his relationship with his dad, played by Christopher Walken.
Well, this movie was released in 2002, so he was 27.
Right,
yeah.
sorry.
What about that?
But yeah, he still seemed quite young. I mean, you do see quite a difference in his appearance from like Gilbert Grape.
Yes.
But yeah.
Well, there's a couple of years. I mean, there's like 2002 to like 93, so it's 9 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it's sort of like a cat and mouse game, right? Tom Hanks sort of tries to catch DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, that's right, because he's the FBI agent who is tasked with catching him because he forged a whole lot of checks. And we talked about this film. Sorry, go on. No, I just wanted to mention that we talked about this film before in our Amy Adams special. And I think I didn't put it as high there, especially because Amy Adams' role isn't that big.
Yeah.
But it's very sweet, and I do love her appearance in this. And I do remember her very well from my childhood. Just her character stayed in my mind, and it is very sweet how they kind of meet. And
that's why you fell in love with her.
A bit, yeah.
What's Tom Hanks' character's name? Is it like Hank?
No, it's not Hank.
Hanready or something?
Yeah, it's something Hanready. Yeah, dude, you're right. Not bad. It's John Hanready. Is it John?
Carl.
Yeah, Carl, of course.
I looked it up now. The Carl bit I looked up. Right. I don't remember Walken in this. It's been a while since I've seen this, but I remember Martin Sheen. He's like
Martin Sheen plays Amy Adams' dad.
Yep. Because I remember them like sneaking around the house.
Yeah.
And I think he like doesn't DiCaprio like exit through a window at one point.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't love this as much as you. It's been a while since I've seen it. That might be the reason why. But it made my top 10 list. It's a great fun Spielberg movie, as you said, and I completely agree with that Spielberg feel that you talked about. He manages to sort of always make his movies an easy watch.
Yeah, and I think once again this is kind of a film that I think most people have seen that I've talked to.
Yeah, it could be.
But if you haven't, check out Catch Me If You Can. I think it's on Netflix right now. Pretty sure.
Okay.
And it's definitely worth checking out if you haven't already.
So that's your 3, right?
That's my 3. So what's your 3?
Well, my 3 was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
All right, it's my turn once again.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like... All right, my number 2 is... All right, now I know what's your 1 and 2. Now I'm trying to figure out which is which, but I think my 2 is your 1, but I'm just going to go out and say it. My 2 is Wolf of Wall Street.
Your number 1 is... Are you kidding me?
You know how much I love this film.
I do. Well, so sorry. Your 2 was Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
That is the best thing I've seen from
I thought so,
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Fair enough, dude.
Like, it wasn't even like, it took me like a second. How do you want to do
fair
this?
enough.
Let's talk about it now. Let's do it.
All right. So, dude, it's your number 1. It's your best thing from DiCaprio. You lead the way.
Well, it's just him at his absolute best. I think this is the movie that he should have won the Oscar for. There's no question about it. And I think he lost to... Who did he lose to?
I have no idea. I was just thinking about the same thing.
I remember... Oh, gosh. Wasn't it Eddie Redmayne as well? For Theory of Everything? I think so.
Could very well be, yeah. Dude,
can you look this up while I talk?
Yeah. I think he should have won.
I
But
think
yeah,
so.
you go ahead.
I mean, I think once again, this is one of those movies that most people have seen, and I certainly hope they did. And it's also like a Martin Scorsese directed movie. So one of the many times that they've worked together, and it's my favorite Scorsese film. It's my favorite DiCaprio film. It is 3 hours of absolute chaos, but somehow basically everything that's happening on screen is real, or was real, is based on reality. It's the movie that sort of made Margot Robbie. That was her breakthrough. And just DiCaprio playing Jordan Belfort, the guy, a broker on Wall Street. You sort of see him coming up. You sort of see him starting off on Wall Street, where he meets Matthew McConaughey's character, who hums at a dinner or at a lunch table for feels like an eternity. That whole scene is iconic.
Scene. Yeah.
It is
Definitely.
iconic. I want to study that scene to be able to like reenact it, because Matthew McConaughey is brilliant in that scene. He only has like a few other scenes in the movie, but that was sort of his main scene. And I don't want like the whole thing like
How many times you masturbate a day?
I thought about like how he starts like asking that question, because it's like you got to know two things on Wall Street, and then one thing is like cocaine. You got to do cocaine, with the other things like do you jerk off? Yeah. What? You jerk off? Yeah, sure, jerk off. Yeah. How many times do you do it? I do that three, four times a week. Oh, those are rookie numbers in that bracket. Something like that. And those are rookie numbers in that bracket. I love him saying that. So, me, I personally do it at least twice a day. I love that moment. But
I mean, the humming scene,
at
least once a year I do it myself, or somebody else that does it. When we were away in Styria for a little vacation that we talked about, me and a friend of ours, Steve, and a couple of others went for a walk, and at some point he also started doing this. I don't know what it started this, but it just happens at some point naturally. It's so iconic, like you said.
But just DiCaprio's reaction to it, because McConaughey's sort of like, do it with me. And just the way he does it is so pinpoint, like perfect, because he looks around as like checking if anyone's noticing what's happening here. Like, is this normal? But then he doesn't want to disappoint him, and then he just goes along with it. And then McConaughey starts rapping over it, basically. Great scene, and that's just in the first like 30 minutes.
I just want to say the same thing. Yeah, that's just the beginning, and there's so many cool things that happen. And
usually, like, I don't like these 3-hour movies, but I think I figured out why that doesn't apply to Wolf of Wall Street, because this movie has so many memorable scenes, and you just basically, because when I watch a movie that I have seen before and that I like, I'm sort of looking forward to my favorite scenes. And I'm like, okay, soon there's going to be my favorite scene. With Wolf of Wall Street, that happens every scene. I'm like, there's so many scenes, and it's just scene after scene after scene, and then the movie ends. It's just iconic scene after another. And we could go through them now, but there's like, as I just said,
just
the whole movie.
Scene.
And that, I mean, DiCaprio, he can do like his whole body can act well, apparently, not just his face.
Maybe
he contorts himself.
Maybe he wasn't acting, just reacting once again.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, but what do you think he was actually on Quaaludes?
Who knows?
The method actor that he is, yeah.
But and you just mentioned that it's another 3-hour film, and dude, his films are incredibly long. I noticed, like Django, Revenant, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Wolf of Wall Street, all like close to 3 hours. Titanic is over 3 hours. Then you have like Catch Me If You Can, is 2:30. Even very few of his films are under 2 hours. Maybe What's Eating Gilbert Grape is maybe the only one.
Well, maybe
I'm not so sure about that one. Sorry.
The directors just have too much good material when they work with DiCaprio.
I'm sure they do.
Maybe that's
everything
the reason
is gold.
Why. Yeah.
And I looked it up, and he lost to Matthew McConaughey for Dallas Buyers Club, and I think that's an outrage, because I think he's way better in Wolf of Wall Street than. I mean, McConaughey is great in Dallas Buyers Club, but Wolf of Wall Street is so much more memorable and great, and yeah.
That's right. I mixed that up. I think he lost to Eddie Redmayne the year after, maybe.
Wasn't the next film already Revenant in 2016? The Oscars?
Maybe he did. Did he not lose to So let's look it up because I want to know this now.
Yeah.
Redmayne won for Theory of Everything, and that was when
2015, maybe.
15.
Like the film, I think, I'm not sure.
You
look up DiCaprio, I'll look up Eddie Redmayne. So Eddie Redmayne, The Fear of Everything came out 2015, and so I guess he won 2016. Yeah. No, sorry, I confused it with Danish Girl. The film came out in 2014, and he won in 2015. The 2015 year, the Oscars of 2015.
I'm completely wrong. DiCaprio wasn't nominated that year. I mixed that up. Anyway,
still good film.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about it,
dude? Like you said, I agree with everything you said. I couldn't have said it better. Just with every scene being memorable, and you you have one scene after another, and you just remember them when you've seen like the cinema or your first watch.
Yeah.
And you're so excited for what's about to happen because in pretty much every scene they have such great lines with like Rob Reiner, I think, playing his dad.
I was just gonna say he's so good, man.
Yeah, and with him talking about DiCaprio mentioning, dude, they're now shaved everywhere. What, everywhere?
I love that whole scene where like they're in the office and then the dad storms in with the bills.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh no, he's coming in. Let's pretend we're actually like doing something productive. And like, I don't know the number now, like $20,000 for dinner or whatever. Yeah, it was. I can't recite it. It's a great scene,
dude. I agree, and I agree with this probably being his best performance. Maybe Once Upon a Time kind of rivaling it, just because he's like an actor, and his acting scene in that one is just amazing.
Yeah,
but yeah, with Wall Street, you kind of also this great character development with him being quite shy and unsure, and then kind of getting into drugs and being fucking insane and drunk on power and money.
Insanity happens in that movie.
Yeah, which is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, and if you know the film, maybe a little nice insight. In the very last scene, and this is not going to be a spoiler, but there's a person like a moderator who introduces Jordan Belfort at the end. And the moderator is actually the real Jordan Belfort. So that's kind of cool. A nice Easter egg that Scorsese included in the film. So and I think the guy who actually went through all that shit is also in the movie.
And I think what's also very cool about this film is because this, or maybe it was Moneyball, and don't know which one came first, kind of made Jonah Hill into more of a respected drama actor.
Absolutely.
And I mean, he's quite funny as well in this film, but
yeah.
He has a way more serious role than he did, like in, I don't know, Superbad and some of his earlier roles, and this kind of made him recognized.
I wouldn't say serious, but it is a more like acclaimed role.
Yeah, at least as a serious actor.
Yeah,
and he's done incredible stuff since. So
yeah, and they're gonna team up again on Adam McKay's next movie. Don't look up. Yeah, because I think they actually like became really good friends after that, and I think Jonah Hill actually like, because Scorsese is his favorite director, and Terrence Winter, the guy who wrote it, is his favorite writer, and DiCaprio is one of his favorite actors, and he actually like, I don't know if he paid Scorsese to be in it, or if I think he took like the minimal wage just to be a part of the movie.
Dude, and now they're friends. I mean, Scorsese apparently gave him directing advice for Jonah Hill's directing debut in mid-90s, which I watched a couple of weeks ago, and it's great. Great film.
Absolutely.
And funny that you mentioned Terrence Winter, because he's also, I think, a writer on The Sopranos, which I've been watching.
There you go. It all comes full circle.
Yeah. And yeah, dude, it's an amazing film, and yeah, I know why it's your number one, and I agree with it.
Yeah.
Very much.
Love it. One of those almost perfect movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude. And like you said, Scorsese is just one of the best directors, and we're going to talk about him shortly. But what's your number two?
Well, my two is, I don't know how, that was like your seven, is Inception.
Yeah.
Outrageously low on your list, if I might say so.
I'm going to argue why I put it so low in a second, but you go ahead and talk about Inception.
I thought about this. I think, like, if you ask 20 to 30-year-olds right now, I think every one of them has seen it, or I would say that this is the movie that most people in that age group have seen.
Yeah, and I think if you ask them what their top 10 films is, in at least like 20% of their lists, Inception is going to make an appearance.
Yeah, Dark Knight is going to be mentioned maybe.
Yeah.
And others, of course. I can't think of any other like good example right now, but obviously the Nolan films all are like very popular. But Inception is rightfully like one of the most well-known and one of the most beloved movies out there. It's just incredible, man. And it sort of revolutionized theater, like cinema experiences for me. I remember watching this in theaters when it came out, and it just blew me away, man. The visuals, just the whole like, we don't need to pitch this movie. As I said, I think everyone has seen Inception, and just Nolan playing around with time as he always likes to do in such an interesting way this time, though, and like dreams within dreams within dreams.
I guess this kind of started off with him kind of doing this
Memento.
More complex. I guess, yeah, sure, but I mean more of as in sci-fi settings, and kind of the whole film. Oh well, yeah, sure. I guess you're right. He also does in Memento, just his films being about exploring this one concept.
Yeah, well, he's sort of done it since again, obviously with Dunkirk and like Tenet,
Interstellar, and
yeah. But yeah, Inception. I mean, there's also like some scary moments in there. Like I remember that whole scene where he meets up his is it his ex-wife? Is it wife? Ex-wife? Played by Marion Cotillard?
I guess ex-wife by definition.
Yeah, there's like a scene where there's a little bit of a jump scare where he's in an elevator and I think it goes up and then her face just appears. I remember that scaring me. And
I do not remember that scene. I remember the train.
It's like in a wrecked hotel room. Yeah. Do you remember that scene where she's almost like jumping off the edge of the window?
Yeah, but I don't remember her face appearing. Like,
I think. It's not like a jump scare. Maybe it just scared me.
But once again, I think it's been a couple of years since I saw this.
Yeah,
which is also kind of part of why it's only my number 7. But yeah,
and just the practical effects Nolan always likes to do them. That whole like spinning hallway with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Dude.
Arthur, I think his name is. We don't need to talk about this movie too much. As I said, I think everyone has sort of seen and heard of Inception, and I just think it's an incredible. I think it maybe sounds wrong, but I think this is a perfect movie. I really do.
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's a great film, and I always have a lot of fun watching it. But just as in saying what is like some of his best performances. I mean, then again, I put Catch Me If You Can very high, although it's not its best performance, but it just kind of means more to me personally, I guess. But Inception is a great film, maybe a bit overhyped.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, maybe I'm just being kind of stupid right now. It is a great film, don't get me wrong, and I enjoy it very much every time I watch it. But maybe I just got exhausted talking about it because when this film came out for about 6 months, you couldn't talk about anything else.
Well, it's been like 10 years.
Yeah,
more.
People still talk about
2010? I think 2010.
And the reason I put it lower is, I mean, Christopher Nolan in this film, it's more about the concept than about the characters. And
sure,
DiCaprio didn't stand out for me as like a character. I mean, his story is quite interesting, but like there are very little moments that I remember with him like talking or like delivering like a very cool
That's very fair.
piece of dialogue or something like that. That's why like his character in Django, Revenant, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Catch Me If You Can, Wolf of Wall Street, and my number 1 pick stood out way more for me and way more memorable.
I agree.
I remember the action scenes very well, like you said, the spinning room and the truck and all those scenes. But yeah, just from a character standpoint, and I think maybe I've mentioned this before, I'm not a huge action kind of fan. I mean, this action is fucking great, but I love films more because of the characters and of the dialogue, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a tough balancing act of like, his performance is better in this movie? Should that mean it's higher on the list?
Of course, yeah.
But I agree with everything you said. I just feel like the movie is so great that I put it that high up on the list.
And I get it, and I get your love for it, and I think if you laugh at it that much, I absolutely agree that it should be a number 2 spot. I think you like the film a bit more than me.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a bit. But yeah, that's just my my argument for why I put it at number 7.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your number 1. What's the best thing you've seen? I mean, I know it.
You figured it out.
My number 9.
By now. My number 1 spot, the best thing that I've seen from DiCaprio, which is maybe a bit of a controversial statement, is The Departed, another film by Martin Scorsese. And now we once again get to meet loving fucking gang films, gangster films, because it's very much set in the kind of gangster world.
Was this your number one on the Damon special too?
I think so.
Or was it
I'm
your
not
number
sure.
two?
No, I think The Martian was my number one
I
there.
don't think it was. I'm definitely. I actually know it wasn't. I think it was your number one as well, The Departed. I think Martian was number two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a bit predictable.
Repetitive. no. But
All right.
I
The Wolf
expected
of Wall
it to
Street
be
is the best thing that I've seen.
No, we'll talk about The Departed, of course. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I've talked about it before, and it's a bit of a gangster film, as in it plays in Boston in the 21st century, and it's about kind of two sides playing each other. So it's about the police having a undercover agent in a Irish gang, who is played by DiCaprio, and then there is Matt Damon, who works for the police, but actually works for the Irish gang and kind of feeds them information.
Yeah.
And it's that back and forth and great cast and great dialogue that makes this film so memorable for me. I think it's probably, pretty sure it's my favorite Scorsese film, which says a lot because his filmography is legendary. And I do not use that word lightly, and it is just, I think everybody knows his films, at least by name, and knows how important they are for just
I think no one would deny
cinema in general. Yeah. And The Departed is just, I don't know why, I just, from the first time I saw it, every time I see it, it's a ride, and I enjoy it so fucking much. And I love DiCaprio in this just because of he's this very unhappy guy to be put in this position, because he's not allowed on the police force, because they tell him, we know you cannot grow up in a bad neighborhood and some of your family actually are like gangsters or like criminals, so we don't trust you. So we don't want you in a police force, but what you can do to kind of gain our trust, how about you become a undercover agent? And he kind of reluctantly agrees. And his role as this undercover agent is so perfect. There's this scene which I remember so well, which is when he goes to the bar to kind of meet Jack Nicholson, or his character.
Yeah.
And then kind of sitting in a bar and ordering a cranberry juice.
Yes.
It's such a great freaking moment where somebody kind of makes fun of him for ordering that and him losing his shit, which I don't know if it's his repressed rage for being forced into this position, or of being an undercover agent, or it's just him trying to act like a psycho to fit more in with the scene there. But it works so well, and I absolutely love this film. And performance-wise, it should be behind Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Wolf of Wall Street, no question. But it just means so much to me, and I kind of regret putting it as my first pick just because I did it already with Matt Damon, which makes
but that
it
just
a little
solidifies
boring.
your love for the movie. No, come on, it's not boring.
Sure, but I don't know. I guess it would have been more interesting. I guess
Gotta stay
thinking
honest
about it.
Yeah.
But so it's the kind of film that I would prefer to rewatch from all those films. But
Interesting.
Like I said, Wolf of Wall Street, great film, and everybody should check it out just because of the performance. And I had limited time kind of rewatching films. I did not watch Wolf of Wall Street or The Departed because they're both quite long, and I remember them
You had to
both
watch
quite
Titanic.
well. Because I've seen this film once.
No, I get it.
And I wanted to do it justice because I was not going to put it on my list at first.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, I remember those like two scenes, and that's it.
Sure.
Like King of the World and them flying. And just seeing it, how impressive, how much work went into
Didn't remember
making this
that Paint
film.
Me Like One of Your French Girls scene?
Of course, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you.
One of the best. But yeah, that's why Depart is my number one spot. I think I talk about a whole lot more on the Matt Damon special, but it's, like I said, it's just the whole kind of thing of the two sides playing them and all the other characters involved, like Wahlberg and Martin Sheen and Alec Baldwin. They all have so much character. Also like Jack Nicholson, and all of those people seem so real in this situation, or just, you don't even question it because it's funny and intense. And I think I love it when people can be intense and funny at the same time, because this film is quite intense. It's no comedy anyway, but just the interactions between Mark Wahlberg and the people there, and just then the intensity of DiCaprio being undercover there and kind of having to choose what he does and what he doesn't do, because he just can't go around killing people just because he's undercover, makes it so intense.
Yeah. I think the only one you didn't list was Vera Farmiga, who's also
Sorry,
great in
Vera
this.
Farmiga I missed as the psychiatrist. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. I think she has relationships with both Matt Damon and DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Right? There's like an interesting triangle going on there as well.
Yeah, she's dating Matt Damon, and then kind of
Gets seduced.
starts to get acquainted with DiCaprio's character.
Yeah, I mean, this has like all the element. Like once again, I'm not the biggest fan of that genre, but even though I wouldn't necessarily consider this like a gangster genre, but like a good crime movie. But well, for whatever reason, I just didn't fall in love with that movie. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to watch it again. It's been a while. I like it a lot. I think it made my number 9. It's a great movie, and it has some great little twists and turns and some shocking moments, some iconic shocking moments that really like, take you aback multiple times. But also like it's genius filmmaking at the end. I'm not going to spoil it now, but there's like hidden symbols like or things in the scene that sort of tell you what's going to happen subconsciously. It's just great filmmaking by one of the great filmmakers, of course.
Dude, definitely.
Yeah.
And dude, I just want to before we end this, I just want to throw out the freaking quote from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Well,
Listen away for
spoiler now. Yeah.
For 10 seconds, I swear then it will be over. I just had to write this quote down because I thought it was so fucking funny in the moment. Right. Here we go. Well, at the end where DiCaprio's character asks, well, is everybody all right? And he just goes, well, the fucking hippies aren't, that's for damn sure. I fucking love that scene. All right.
Hey, okay, what a way to end. What's on your honorable list?
My honorable list, Blood Diamond, but once again, a film that I haven't seen quite a while, and I wasn't sure how much I actually kind of enjoyed it.
Whenever I think of Blood Diamond, I think of Jennifer Connelly's CGI tear. That's
I
the
do
one
not
thing
remember that.
Yeah, there's one scene where like one tear is rolling down her face, and it's a CGI tear.
Right. I think I enjoyed it, but it's been so freaking many years that I remember very little of it.
Yeah.
But also on the honorable list is the Aviator.
That is my one honorable that I have left.
All right.
Yeah.
Also by Martin Scorsese once again. So.
And I was going to say this too because I was now going to talk about sort of the movies that DiCaprio has coming up. Mm-hmm. He has another movie coming up with Martin Scorsese together with Robert De Niro called Killers of the Flower Moon, which is going to be hopefully incredible.
Yeah,
well.
Did you see This Boy's Life? Because that's like the first time they start together. Yeah, all right. I want to check this one out as well because apparently also why DiCaprio got cast in Gangs of New York is because of De Niro's recommendation to Scorsese after doing this film.
Right. That's sort of one of his earlier roles as well, This Boy's Life.
Yeah.
He's very young in that. It's like 93. So right around the Gilbert Grape time. But I didn't watch This Boy's Life, and I also didn't watch Revolutionary Road.
Me neither.
Which I don't think would have made my list. But then again, I
would
haven't
have liked to see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's also with Kate Winslet, I think, and with Michael Shannon, who I also very much like.
Is it with Michael Shannon, really?
I'm pretty sure.
I know it's a Sam Mendes film, which is always good.
Yeah, also cool,
1917 recently, and American Beauty, many other things. But I don't think that's really Michael Sheen or Shannon.
Shannon, Michael Shannon.
I don't think he's in that movie.
Maybe he's not. All right, maybe I confused this one with. He is. He's quite. He's
far down.
Quite far down in the credits.
Okay.
But all right, I guess it's quite a small role then. And I've also missed Romeo and Juliet, which I think I've seen maybe in school quite some time ago. I don't remember, to be honest. And Marvin's Room, I was also missing.
Yeah, the one with Meryl Streep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think it would have made my list. But who knows? Who knows?
They're also teaming up again on Adam McKay's
a reunion.
Because everyone's in that movie. Yeah. Whole Hollywood is in that movie.
Anything else that you missed?
No. Those are the main things that I didn't get to see.
I'm sorry, what was the other one?
What do you mean?
The big film that we missed. I'm going to look this up right now. I'm sorry. You can cut this out, the waiting time. We mentioned it just before we started recording.
Oh, Greg's Plum?
That's right.
Was it Greg's Plum?
Something like that.
Don's Plum. Don's Plum.
There we go.
Don's Plum, yeah. 2001.
Where's that one with Tobey Maguire. I think I actually heard about this one. I think he doesn't want anyone to see this one. DiCaprio. And sorry, one honorable mention is The Beach, which I also very much liked.
Yeah. I mean, we can go on. There's also like Celebrity,
J.
the Woody
Edgar.
Allen movie. J. Edgar, yeah. I didn't get to see Celebrity, but J. Edgar, that was not going to make my list. Him working with Clint
Celebrity
Eastwood.
is a Woody Allen film.
Woody Allen, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then he's got the
Woody Allen
Basketball
worked
Diaries.
with everybody.
Yeah,
Jesus
he did.
Christ.
But then like the Man in the Iron Mask and
Didn't see that one either, but I don't think I would have liked it very much. Plus, I don't want to just go off of that, but the ratings are also quite low.
Yeah. And the Basketball Diaries is supposed to be pretty good. I haven't seen that one.
All right.
Yeah.
I saw the film, but I didn't think that it was.
Oh, you saw it?
Anything? No. I saw like when I like.
Or when you went
looked up,
through, yeah.
Yeah, what should I watch? And I saw it, and I didn't think that would be anything that would be mentioned. So
Yeah. And Body of Lies, the Ridley Scott film. Have you seen that?
I saw it like I don't know how many years ago.
Okay.
So I don't want to put it on my list because I have no idea
Right.
about the film. I vaguely remember something from the end. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. But I didn't love it.
All right.
And the last one, the main one that we didn't talk about is The Great Gatsby. And that was also not making
Of
my
course,
list.
yeah.
But I think it's fine.
Once again, like a 3-hour film.
Is it that long?
I think it's incredibly long.
220, 230, something like that, I think. But yeah. Right. That's it. I mean, this is, once again, it's a longer episode, but it's DiCaprio. I mean, this guy has done some incredible stuff, and we sort of needed to take a little bit of time to get through everything. But hopefully this was enjoyable. It was for me.
And yeah, I hope you join us for next regular episode or our next special in 4 episodes time. So about a month from now. And yeah, I also had a blast rewatching some of those films because what an actor.
Yeah, and check out some of the movies that you haven't seen. Maybe we piqued your interest. Definitely check out The Quick and the Dead.
And I guess if you're listening to this, you know where to find us. But if you want to listen to us anywhere else, we're also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Play. I don't know what it is called. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Google Podcasts. YouTube under Best Thing We've Seen podcast. And if you want to visit us on Twitter or Instagram, we're there under Best Thing Radio. Sorry, at Best Thing Radio, where you can check out our cool cover art that Flo posts on Instagram, Twitter, and also it is the thumbnail on YouTube.
Yes.
So definitely check that out. Thank you so much for listening, and maybe leave us a review, good or bad, hopefully good. Give us some feedback, and yeah, we hate to ask you for it, but maybe on YouTube, click that like button or maybe a subscribe. It helps out a great deal. And yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll be back next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.